Hello, my name is Valerie Choi, and today I'm going to be presenting my Understanding Diversity project. So, a little bit about me. My mom is from Mexico and my dad is from South Korea, which makes me biracial. I am 23 years old and I grew up in Coachella Valley in California, to be specific, Palm Desert. I am bisexual and I grew up religious, but I no longer practice it. I stopped going to church around like 19 years old, I think. And I speak mostly English, but I do speak some Spanish as well because of my mom. And I aim to become an elementary educator, and I'm hoping to go into the third or fourth grade teaching. So, my project proposal is the male gender and its intersectionality with disability. And I chose this topic because I believe it's important for multiple reasons. Number one being understanding the intersection of how the male gender and having a disability helps reveal how overlapping identities shape unique school experiences. Number two, I noticed in my research that boys may face gendered expectations such as pressure to appear strong or unemotional, which can affect how their behavior and needs are interpreted. And lastly, disability related challenges can be misread as defiance or lack of effort if educators don't recognize this intersection. So, resource one, I did an article which is titled Boys Are Facing Key Challenges in School Inside the Effort to Support Their Success. Across many measures, grades, test scores, behavior, disciplinary actions, and graduation likelihood, boys as a group are doing worse than girls. We can see that boys are more frequently diagnosed with learning or intentional disabilities and more likely to be placed in special education classes. Boys, especially those who show inattention, hyperactivity, or behavioral issues, are disciplined more often, especially from a young age. Many classrooms follow a sit and get model, in which there are long periods of quiet seated work, reading, and note taking. These environments that may not fit learning behavioral styles common among many boys. Some boys' behaviors, such as restlessness, inattentiveness, and externalizing behaviors, are often seen as misbehavior when they may stem from learning or attention differences or disabilities. Additionally, social and cultural expectations of masculinity can discourage boys from showing vulnerability, asking for help, or expressing academic struggle. The challenges that boys face in school are often systemic, affecting countless of students, not just a few individuals. That means that many boys may never reach their full potential under current school designs. If ignored, these issues can lead to long-term consequences such as lower graduation rates, reduce access to opportunities, and disengagement from learning. But if we respond with awareness and reforms, such as adapting teaching methods, accommodating different learning styles, and offering support, we can help many boys succeed, benefiting both individuals and society. This article is a very useful and reliable resource, as it is based on research from the American Psychological Association and explains how boys are often failing behind girls in grades, test scores, and graduation rates. The article is clear, well organized, and trustworthy, and it uses evidence and real examples to support its points. Because it comes from a respected organization, it is of high quality and is credible for educators, parents, or anyone who is interested in boys' education. This resource is helping me learn more about just why boys are statistically doing worse in schools than girls, and how we can mend this disparity. I learned that the classic structure of schools and classrooms are not the best fit for boys, and this mismatch, along with boys' natural diagnoses, can lead to behavioral problems, disengagement, or under identification of learning and attention issues that require support. In the future, I can use what I learned in this article and do more hands-on teaching that strays away from the typical sit and get format that we learned about. Then resource number two, I did a TED Talk from John Rode, and it's called How I Overcame My Learning Disabilities to Become a Physician. And in this video, we learned that John struggled with reading from a very young age. And by the fourth grade, he still read at a first grade level, but because of this, he was placed in special education classes and even given a label that marked him as different from his peers. What's important though, is that although he understood the material, he couldn't show it on traditional tests. The heavy reliance on reading, time tests, and silent seat work made school feel like paddling upstream for him. John's story reflects a bigger educational issue that many students' abilities are often hidden or misjudged because the system measures skill they haven't mastered yet or not the knowledge they actually possess. One moment changed everything, though, for John. In 7th grade, a science teacher let John take a test without a time limit, and for the first time in his educational career, he earned an A. Not because he suddenly got smarter, but because this barrier that was placed beforehand was removed. This showed him and his teacher that the problem wasn't intelligence, it was just the way that he was being tested. Later, he was diagnosed with dyslexia, which finally explained years of struggle, and with accommodations and a better understanding of his learning needs, he began to take control of his education. John's story is a powerful reminder that with the right support and a flexible teacher, it can transform a student's entire academic trajectory. He also teaches us that learning disabilities do not determine potential, and that the structure of school often disadvantages students with dyslexia, ADHD, and other learning challenges. Time tests, heavy reading loads, and one-size-fits-all assessments often mask what students truly know. But when students receive accommodations such as extra time, hands-on learning, and alternative test formats, that's when their real abilities shine through. This shows the importance of early diagnosis, flexible teaching, and recognizing a wide variety of learning styles. Because without this support, many students live far below their potential simply because of the system wasn't designed for them. This video is highly relevant and authentic because as a highly relevant and authentic resource, as John Rhodes shares his personal experience with dyslexia, detailing struggles with reading, failing exam, and being labeled as special education, and how he overcame these challenges to become a cardiologist and a physician. The story is accurate in reflecting the realities of learning disabilities and shows that they do not limit intelligence or potential. Because this was delivered on a reputable TEDx platform, this video is high quality and inspiring, offering valuable insights for educators, parents, and students about supporting diverse learners. Oops. Okay. And resource number 3, I did an article on a study, and it's called Why Autism Strikes Mostly Boys, and some key findings and explanations. This whole article is very science-based, which I wanted to include in one of my resources, and it found that autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, it affects roughly 4 times as many boys than girls. And the researcher in the study found a female protective effect as girls seem more biologically more resilient. Even with the same autism associated genetic variants, girls often do not develop autism while boys do. They conducted a study with a mouse modeling autism-linked genetic deletions, and they showed that male mice showed major difficulties in reward learning and behavioral adaptation. On the other hand, female mice with the same genetic deletion were greatly unaffected. On the molecular level, male brains with these deletions displayed altered signaling in regions involved in reward learning, while female brains compensated better. Genetic research supports that fewer or less severe mutations may be sufficient to trigger autism in boys, while girls require a higher genetic load for ASD to manifest. The relevance of this resource is directly connected to my focus area for this project revolving around boys and disability. It is authentic because of the origin of the source being a reputable university and uses a study conducted by an assistant professor who has a PhD. The overall quality of the resource is well written and well worded. It is very evident that the writer is very knowledgeable about this subject. This resource is helping me learn more about the gender disparity in autism. I learned that boys are more likely to be diagnosed with autism because of biological factors, including needing fewer genetic mutations to trigger the condition. I will be using this resource in my current and future work as an educator by using this knowledge and applying it to my teaching. I can educate fellow teachers and parents as to why this disparity exists and how to navigate it. So some big takeaways that I found are equity, resilience, and support. What matters most is recognizing that resilience, their ability to overcome barriers when given a chance. And another takeaway that I found was equity and ensuring that schools provide fair opportunities for every learner regardless of gender or ability. And then finally, I did support, which is through accommodations, understanding teachers, and inclusive environments that allow students to thrive in a good classroom. If we keep these three big takeaways in mind, resilience, equity, and support, we can help create an education system where every boy, regardless of his challenges, has a chance to succeed. Let's not just focus on what these students struggle with, but on what they can achieve when we give them the right tools and opportunities. Thank you.